The Union returned home for not one, but two matches this week after a bye week and an undefeated start, but the good times did not keep rolling at Subaru Park. The Union dropped both matches at home, both in disappointing fashion, with some positive notes mixed in between. We'll break down the good and the bad as Union Insider starts now.
Takes the strike on, and it's off the inside of the post. Just for the Argentine. Oh, brilliant! Martinez fires.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Union Insider presented by Independence Blue Cross. I'm your host, Marisa, as always, joined by Sheanon Williams and Sebastian Latou. The Union had a pretty busy week this week, but let's break down first what happened last weekend when they played host to Real Salt Lake. You know the saying, all good things must come to an end? Well, that was the story of the weekend as the Union's 7-match unbeaten streak came to an end. Philly lost to Salt Lake 2-1 on Saturday night, and it was a match that the Union felt like they could have come away with 3 points. Instead, they collected 0. Here's the highlights from Saturday's match. We skip ahead to the 34th minute with no score. The Union get dispossessed and the ball eventually finds the foot of Andre Gomez, who hammers the ball off of Blake's gloves and into the back of the net to give the visiting Real Salt Lake side a 1-0 lead, which they would then take into halftime. But shortly after the second half started, the Union would strike back. This time they dispossess RSL in their half, and after some build-up play and deflected shot, the ball finds Daniel Gazdag, who does a back heel with the goalie away from the net, and the Union have their equalizer. And this match did look as if it was headed towards a 1-1 draw at Subaru Park, but RSL's Alexandros Katranis had another idea. After Jacob Glesnes' header fails to fully clear, Katranis rips a ball that Andre Blake doesn't have much of a chance to get to give RSL the 2-1 lead in the 89th minute. And that would be your final score from Subaru Park on Saturday night as the Union lose their first match of the season so far. All right, so the Union kind of seemed to be the better of the two teams in this match, but just weren't able to get the result. What happened there?
I think maybe a lack of finishing, in this game. I think they got the chances, especially in the second half. After Gazdag, scores the equalizer, he got a second chance, who kind of really missed completely the target with his right foot on a nice cross from Kai Wagner. And then when Ua came in, his first ball, cross from Nathan Ariel, and the same, completely missed the ball, didn't even make contact. And on those two opportunities, I think the team could have been, in the lead. And at the end, a little bit unlucky. Maybe the first time of the year that we are losing, maybe on the last play of the game. A great strike. But at the end, he gives a win of Salt Lake and he breaks, the undefeated record for the team.
Yeah, Sheanon, for you, what was the missing piece on Saturday night?
Just being a little bit more clinical in the final third, like Seba talked about. I thought they had the chances to win the game. Good on their part to come back after being down 1-0, but then just didn't finish the chances that they had. And then anytime you leave a good team on the other side a chance to stick around and steal 3 points from you, they did the job and were able to get a great shot at the end to beat Andre Blake, and it's just disappointing because they had those chances to score. The game was at home. They had the momentum going in their favor in that second half and just didn't close the deal.
So that first goal RSL scored went off the gloves of Blake. What led to that buildup?
Yeah, I think it just was a little bit unlucky. First, it careens off of Elliott, who just doesn't close down quick enough, and then they play the ball out wide as we're trying to scramble and get back. And then obviously Andre would like to have that one back. He's a goalkeeper that has won, best goalkeeper of the year twice now, and usually makes that save. And he just seemed uncomfortable in the goal that night, and we'll have to see if he can come back to his best.
What would be the biggest takeaway that the Union would take from this game heading into the rest of the week?
I mean, for this game, I think the fact that, we'll talk about it again, but finishes those chances, it's kind of get the more killer instinct, like Sheanon just said. You need to put those games away because some team come to, Subaru Park and they know it's always a tough task, to get some points. When you have those chances, especially in front of the goal from your striker and the starting striker, you need to have the killer instinct to put the game away. Don't let the team coming back into your own building, and it's what I think you can take away into this game. It's to just be better in the finishing, and all the striker knows that they got chances and they didn't finish. So it's just kind of to move on now to the next game, and hopefully they forget about it and be more confident to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, dropping games at home is not what the Union are all about. Subaru Park is supposed to be a fortress, but does it make it any better that it's against Western Conference teams?
Maybe a little bit. It doesn't make let's say a 6-point swing. When you lose against a Western, it maybe help a little bit in a standing. It doesn't hurt you as much, so it's okay. But you never like to lose at home.
Well, the Union had to put that loss to RSL in the rearview mirror pretty quickly as they had a short turnaround to host the Seattle Sounders on Tuesday night. But this wasn't really your typical match. It was a resumption of a match that started back on March 9th, but as you remember, it was suspended in the 6th minute due to a flooded field. So with another match comes another round of highlights. Let's get into it, shall we? This may have been a continuation of a match that started back in March, but the Union looked like they just weren't ready to get started on Tuesday night. In the 13th minute, Daniel Gazdag passes back to Jose Martinez, who loses the ball. It then gets picked up by Rui Diaz of Seattle, who hammers one past Oliver Zemlé from 45 yards out for the first goal of the match. Zemlé, not expecting a turnover there, was way off his line, and Rui Diaz catches him by surprise. Fast forward to the 22nd minute, the Sounders are trying to make something happen just outside the 18 when Obed Vargas takes matters into his own hands and fires one that curls past Zemlé into the net. His first goal of his MLS career and the Sounders' second goal of the night. But that's not all from the first half. Olivier Mbaizo trips Rui Diaz in the box in the 37th minute. The ref calls a penalty where, you guessed it, Rui Diaz scores his second goal of the night. A disastrous first half for the Union as they went into the locker room down 3-0. But the Union weren't done just yet. Jack Nicklin decides he wants to join in on the fun and fires a strike from well beyond the box just after halftime. And the ball finds the back of the net for his first goal of the season. And just 2 minutes later, in the 57th minute, the Union are back on the attack, where Quinn Sullivan rips in a cross that finds the head of Daniel Gazdag, who puts it home to bring the Union back within one. Not only that, that goal gave Gazdag his 57th of his Union career, which gives him the most in club history. And that wouldn't quite be all from Gazdag on the night, or so we thought. The Union were once again on the attack, and the ball finds Gazdag off yet another cross. He impressively chests the ball into the back of the net to seemingly equalize this game for the Union, but the flag went up and it was ruled offsides. The Union had more chances in this one, but they ended up falling to the Sounders 3-2, dropping yet another game at home. So a disappointing result against Seattle. A really odd game, as we said. It started in the 6th minute. It kind of was picking up, not really where it left off. But what fell apart for the Union in this one?
It's hard to tell, I think the lack of energy, for me, starting, the game, like you said, after 6 minutes, it was kind of a good start. We saw right away they put the ball, into the box of Seattle. I think they wanted to really bring the energy into this game and we score early, but then very flat, everybody was kind of late, a lot of mistakes, technically, leading to the first goal, Martinez missing his trap. Then, the pressure on the ball were not really what it was, the reaction of the ball, too many mistakes from a lot of people. And like Jim Curtin said, after his press conference, after the games, that he could have subbed, pretty much everybody on the team. He decided, to make 3 substitutions at halftime, who kind of changed the game, and you see the momentum really changes as soon as Jack Nicklin, scores the goal. You can see that the life coming back in the stadium, people really believing in back the comeback of the team, and it was kind of tough to see how they can do in the first half and how they can react. And you can really see they could have come back, I think, at the end of the game, but I think physically, having the 2 game, maybe, the different temperature, it was a beautiful night, but kind of hard, for the guy for the first time of the year. Maybe they fell short a little bit physically, plus Seattle, kind of bring back their line, tight together at the end. So it was tough to watch in the first half, but at the end, you can really see that the team can really react very well, but it was a bit, too late to get the win.
Right, it's a big ask for this team. They played 2 games in 4 days, and then both of them, they came from behind to try to salvage some points. So it's a lot to ask a team who's on some tired legs late in a match to find equalizing goals and game-winning goals. So for you, Sheanon, what carried over from Saturday's loss to RSL to this one?
The mistakes, like Seba talked about. I thought that in the Real Salt Lake game, they made 2 mistakes that ended up as goals. And then they picked up right where they left off in Seattle, and giving 3 goals up in the first half isn't a recipe for success. I think that they need to cut out some of these mistakes. It's too easy for other teams to come and score goals. And it's not like they're breaking down or they're doing something that's spectacular. Now they've seen or we've seen some spectacular goals by other teams, but it's usually from a mistake that the Union have made. So they need to cut out some of these mistakes, be a little sharper, especially at the start of games. You don't want to be down 3-0 and have to chase. We know that the team can come back, and that's something that they've done this year, but 3-0 at home at halftime is a little bit too much to come back from.
So we've got more Union Insider for you in a bit, but first, here's your Union trivia question presented by United Concordia. Before Tuesday night against Seattle, when was the last time the Union lost back-to-back matches at home in MLS play? Find out the answer later in the show.
It was a bizarre request, but let's just hypothetically say he got your face tattooed on his leg. Would you sign it?
100% I would sign, but I would
You have to, right?
I would also say that's a crazy guy.
All right, welcome back to Union Insider presented by Independence Blue Cross. After a double feature this past week, the Union have yet another match this weekend as the team travels down to our nation's capital to take on DC United. So naturally, these guys have to turn over their keys to the game presented by Subaru. So this is an opponent that the Union are very familiar with, but what will be key this time around?
Yes, it's my favorite team to score against, so hopefully a lot of goals. But now I think for me this key, it's to make sure we stop Benteke. He's been, one of the players, really confident for them, scoring goal left and right. And I think if we do a good job stopping him, in this game, limiting his chances and having, him not scoring and maybe hopefully get a clean sheet, in that game, will be, I think, great for the defense. We can, think about winning this game. But if we can stop him, it's going to be a big, task, I think, for Glesnes and Elliott, especially those two center backs to communicate. He's a strong, forward, really very good in the box, physical, and they need to know where he's at all time, especially in the box on those crosses, because he can really score with his head. He scored a lot of goals, at the beginning of the season. So it's a big task for them, but it's my key. If we cannot stop him, I think the entire team, them of DC, don't see it as not as much confidence, and then we can maybe get them in counter-attack and score some goals.
Yeah, everything really kind of runs through Benteke down there in DC. How about you?
For me, it's going to be to cut out the defensive mistakes. We know that the Union have given up a lot of goals in these past two games, and I think a lot of it has come down to things that they've done to gift the opposition a goal. If they can cut out some of these defensive mistakes and maybe pitch a shutout, we know that they're going to give up goals during the season, but it can't be that they're giving other teams goals. They have to earn it from this Union team. And if they can do that, we know that they can score goals. They've showed that this year they have the potential to score 2 goals, 3 goals. They just have to cut out these defensive errors. I think that'll be the key to getting 3 points in DC.
Yeah, the Union have given up 5 goals in their last 2 matches. How much of a confidence boost would it be to have a shutout?
It would be huge. Anytime you get a shutout, it's a huge confidence boost. It's what gives your team a chance to win. Anytime you can pitch a shutout. Again, this team has goal scorers in the lineup and also on the bench. So we know that if they pitch a shutout and get back to that defensive unit that we know they can be, that they can win games.
Yeah, the Union have dominated DC, really, especially over the last 2 seasons, 3-0-1 over the last 2 years. What makes this such a favorable matchup?
I mean, it's a favorable matchup. In the same time, right now they are tied, 13 points each on the Eastern Conference. DC got a new coach, with Lessons, who come from the Red Bulls, a different type of, let's say, of mentality tactically, from this team who might, press more, the Union. So, like Sheanon say, if we can limit the mistakes, kind of try to build out of the back and maybe play more direct and be able, to win those second balls, I think it would be a good matchup for the team. But they are a confident team. They just beat Seattle that we lost at home, so they have the advantage right now. But we need a reaction from the team defensively, and then I think we score goals. We always got points, away from home, in the beginning of the season. So I see the team doing the same. I think they are confident. But since we lost some points at home, the past 2 games, we need to get back on track, away and get some points in DC.
All right, Sheanon, to get points in DC, tactically, how do you make the argument that DC is the best opponent for the Union where they are right now?
DC has given up a lot of goals to this Union team, and this Union team is very similar to the teams of the past of these couple of years. And I think that they know this DC team pretty well. Now, DC will set up a little bit different tactically with the new coach, but I think this is a team that this Union team is ready to pounce on it and try to steal 3 points from them.
Yeah, they need to get that sour taste out of their mouth with 2 back-to-back losses. All right, we're coming up on a break on Union Insider, but when we return, we'll go over a player who can give the Union backline some trouble on Saturday. We'll be right back after this. Time now for our Chick-fil-A Nugget of the Week. With his goal on Tuesday against Seattle, Daniel Gazdag scored his 57th goal in Union history in all competitions breaking Sebastian Latou's record for most in club history. Welcome back to Union Insider, presented by Independence Blue Cross. Seba, first, do you have anything to say about your record being broken?
I mean, congratulations to Daniel. I mean, he deserves it. He's been outstanding, since he came to the team. I was able to be live, to call his goal, and it's just nice to see that he keeps scoring. He beat my record for the all-time. There's still the MLS record. Hopefully, in a couple of goals he can beat as well. But it's great. He's a great player. He's a great person. He really deserves it, and I'm very happy for him that he did it in front of the fans. Even if he was not after a win, but it was nice to see like all his goals and be able to see all of them almost live, in the stadium.
Yeah, very graciously, you're handing over that baton of all-time leading goal scorer.
It's just a stat, It's something in America I really love. I like it. It was great to be the all-time leading scorer for a long time, but where we say record need to be broken all the time. So somebody one day will beat his record, but I hope he keep putting the number higher and higher.
You're going to have to change your email signature now. So when you stop texting people signed all-time leading goal scorer. It's embarrassing, Seba. All right, after 2 matches back at home, the Union are back on the road, but this time just down the street, taking on rival DC United. The biggest threat on the field for DC, literally and figuratively, is none other than 6'3" Belgian international forward Christian Benteke. Benteke came over to DC United in August of 2022 on a 2.5-year deal as a DP. A known goal scorer, he is lighting up the league this season, scoring 8 goals and added an assist in his first 8 matches of the season. And he's also an early contender in the MLS Golden Boot race, so very early contender in that race. But Benteke, as we said, a noted goal scorer. He's dominant. Where do you even begin to defend someone like him?
I mean, it's tough. He's so physical, in a box. And I think with his experience, you saw him, coming into the team of DC. Maybe didn't get the impact he wanted to get right away. But I think maybe with the new order of Troy Lesesne, he maybe really find his place now in the team. Really how to impact the game. He's one of the leaders, in his team. I think he knows exactly what he needs to do as a player and as a leader. So it's just tough because with his experience, playing in the biggest club, for national team of Belgium, he went to Liverpool, past a big Crystal Palace, and now, in his DC, you can see like the confidence. And as a forward, it's all about that. If you have confidence, if you feel good about your team, if you feel good about your teammates, you can always score, and sometimes, out of nothing. And it's what he's doing right now, and you can see it on the field.
Yeah, how about as a defender? What is it like to defend against somebody who's not only just so skilled, but physically a large presence there?
That becomes difficult. It's obviously hard to see the ball when it comes into him, especially when you're standing behind him. I'm only 5'8", but hopefully Glezis and Elliott, who are much taller than I am, will do a good job, especially with the physicality and making sure that they throw him off and not letting him get free runs in the box. I think that's going to be important. Anytime you have a big physical forward, just not letting him get his position, almost like a center in basketball. I think if they can do a good job of being physical with him and frustrating him, that they can keep him off the score sheet.
All right. Well, we've recapped 2 Union games and previewed their upcoming match, so I think we've given enough love to the boys in blue. How about we take a look at what else happened in MLS this weekend in Around the League, presented by Torque. After a 38th minute Duncan McGuire goal, Orlando City SC appeared to be headed towards a win at home until Tyrese Spicer equalized for Toronto in the 87th minute. And then just 3 minutes later, Prince Owusu scored the dagger as TFC picked up a huge 3 road points in 2-1 win, stealing the match from Orlando. And that wasn't the only late goal of the match week. LAFC and the Portland Timbers were tied in stoppage time until Dennis Bouanga took matters into his own hands, scoring the game-winning goal in stoppage time, giving the home crowd something to be happy about after a 3-2 win over the Timbers. When Union Insider returns, Seba and Sheanon will give us their players to watch for Saturday's match as the Union face off against DC United. We'll be right back after this. All right, here's the answer to this week's Union trivia question presented by United Concordia. The last time the Union lost back-to-back home matches before this past weekend was in 2021 when they lost to NYCFC and Inter Miami in back-to-back matches. All right, final segment here on Union Insider presented by Independence Blue Cross, which means in order for us to wrap this thing up, we need our players to watch. So Seba, who is your player to watch?
I'm going with the defender. We talk a lot about Benteke, and one of the guys who are going to mark him, it's Jack Elliott. I think Jack, I've been a little bit, off sometime in those games and, the past, losses. I think we need to see him really have a big performance defensively, and I think we are due to have like a center back scoring on a set pieces.
Ooh.
So I feel like, maybe he's going to be the guy to put the ball in the bottom of the net.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Not only do you want him to just do his defensive job, but get in on the scoring. Why not?
When I pick a player, I want everything.
Yeah, all in.
Both sides of the field.
I appreciate that about you, Seba. What about you, Sheanon?
I'm going to go with Daniel Gazdag. I think that he's been in good form in front of goal. We've asked him to score more from the run of play, and I think he's done that. He's putting himself in some good spots. We know he had the miss in the Real Salt Lake game, but again, he's putting himself right on top of the six, right where he needs to be, right amongst the goal scorers. And he's got 6 goals so far to lead this Union team. Why not get it to 7?
Yeah, keep things rolling. All right, so that's going to be it for this one. The Union are on the road again, but not too far, just down the street, DC United at Audi Field. This will be at 7:30 on Saturday. You can see it on Apple TV. Dave Leno and Sheanon Williams will also have the radio call 97.5 The Fanatic. For Sheanon and Seba, I'm Marisa, and we'll see you next week.